Hey everyone, this is Rohan Shah with DiagKNOWstics Learning with some more SAT math. First, some vocabulary words. Quadrants. What is a quadrant? Well, on the XY plane, which I'm sure you're familiar with, this over here is the first quadrant. Now, a lot of people think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's really 1, 2, the second quadrant's here. The third quadrant's here. That's where X and Y are both negative. And then the fourth quadrant is here. Domain and range. Domain is basically all the possible x values in your function, and the range is all the possible y values in your function. So if we have this y equals x squared parabola over here, let's see the domain. What are all the x values that this function, goes through? Negative a billion, negative 10, basically all the negatives and all the positives. Any x value you think of, you can plug in to this and find a y value. So the domain is literally all real numbers. You could also write it like negative infinity to infinity with parentheses like this. The range are all the possible y values. Here, notice the y values, there are no negative y values here, right? There's nothing you could plug in to the x to get a negative y value below this x-axis over here. The only y values are positive, but we can get everything from 0 to infinity. And because we also can get 0, 0 is a part of it, we put a square bracket like this. So this is the range of this function. The way functions work is basically input-output. So if this is your function, if x is your input, this is your output. So if you wanted to find f of, say, 4, just replace every x with a 4. So that would be 4 squared plus 10 times 4 plus 5. So whatever that is, 16 plus 40 plus 5. Technically, this sounds like a weird question, but I could ask you, what's f of y? People are like, wait, isn't y equal to, the y value? Well, here in this context, if you're given this and you're asked what's f of y, it's no different than asking f of 4. Just replace the x with the y. If f of x is in fact x squared plus 10x plus 5, well then f of y is y squared plus 10y plus 5. F of p is p squared plus 10p plus 5. Heck, f of smiley face is smiley face squared plus 10 smiley face plus 5. Then we have the midpoint formula and the distance formula. Just to see where these come from, what they mean, let's say you have these 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. The midpoint is just a point kind of exactly in between. Long story short, you're just averaging the two x's, so the x right in between these two, which is literally just x1 plus x2 over 2. And then the y, the one right in between these two y's, y1 plus y2 over 2. This point, this coordinate x comma y, is the midpoint between these two. Then there's the distance formula. Here's the thing, it's really the Pythagorean theorem kind of disguised. Really, if we want to find the distance between these 2 points, how do you find that length? Imagine we have a triangle over here. Ah, okay. Well, basically, this is the hypotenuse. We know that a squared plus b squared needs to equal c squared. This distance a is really just x2 minus x1, right? The gap from here to here. So a squared plus b is this, the gap in the y is the y2 minus y1 squared. And that really is the distance between them squared. So the distance formula is just taking the square root of both sides. So this is the distance formula, the square root of the change in x squared plus the change in y squared. But really, it's kind of like pick the 2 points, make a little right triangle, do the Pythagorean theorem, and then you never need to use the distance formula. Now let's talk about a specific type of function in a little bit more detail. Linear function. The word really just comes from line. If you have a line, really y equals mx plus b. You might or might not have seen this before. This is the form, the equation of any line, where b is the intercept and m is the slope. If the slope is a positive number, if this really is y equals, let's say, 2x plus 5, that means your m is 2, that's a slope of 2, so it's upward sloping, it's inclined upwards, and b is 5, that's over here, so this is what the equation of that line looks like. If this b were negative, it would, be down here somewhere. If the slope was negative, then it would be going down like this. Now, the key thing to find the actual slope, one common skill to have is if you're given 2 points, let's say new day, new question, I just give you 2 points and you want to find the slope, the equation of the line from those 2 points, how would you do that? For example, let's say you're given these 2 points and you want to find the equation of the line, the mx plus b. Well, to find the slope, there's this thing called the slope formula, which is just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It's really just, as you'll see, rise over run. Just to get some intuition, let's just plot these 2 points over here, 3, 4, and then we have 7, 12. All right, and again, we want to find that. So here's the thing. Between these 2 points, the rise, how much it rises by, y2 minus y1, this second y value, which is 12, minus this first y value, which is 4, that's a distance of 8, right? So that's the rise. Then the run, the change in the x value, this x2 is 7, minus this first x was 3, 7 minus 3, this run was 4. So really 8 over 4. When you went 4 units to the right, you went 8 units up. So 8 over 4 is 2. So the slope here, the m, is 2. So in this equation, y equals m is 2, so 2x plus b. Now, you could really use either point to find out what that b would be. So if you plug in 4 and 3 into this line, see this y equals mx plus b, replace y with 4, y equals m, we already solved for m, it was 2, y equals mx plus b. So using one point, using this point, we could get this. So now 2 times 3 is 6, so subtract 6 from both sides and you get 4 minus 6, which is negative 2, equals b. So if b is negative 2 and the slope was positive 2, our final equation is y equals 2x minus 2. That's the equation of our line. Now here, if we would have used this point instead, 7, 12, we should have gotten the same answer for b. If we got a different answer, you know you did something wrong. Either way, that's how you find the equation of a line, just from 2 points. Finally, the words parallel and perpendicular. If you have a line, mx plus b, and you're being told that another line is parallel to it, what that means mathematically is it has the same slope. Its slope is also that same m. And the symbol for parallel is this. If you're being told that another line is perpendicular to it, well then here's the thing, the symbol is this, perpendicular, it makes a 90 degree. If this guy's slope is m, this guy's slope is negative 1 over m, the negative reciprocal, which kind of makes sense because if one guy has a positive slope, let's say this slope is positive 3, 3x plus 8 or something like that, well then this guy's slope is going to be negative 1/3, because first of all, it makes sense that if this is positive, this has to be negative, and it's not going to be as steep, and that way they make a 90 degree angle. So just remember the negative reciprocal is how you find the slope of a perpendicular line. If that helped, make sure you subscribe to our SAT math platform where you can learn some math and learn to know.